Back to the second half of Business Half Hour here on Classic FM 97.3, station that plays every song you know, brought to you by Unity Bank. On the other side of this, we have Uwade. Uwade, good morning once again.
Good morning, Ifeanyi. Good morning, Bukola. Good morning, Lagos. It's a great Monday once again for Business Half Hour. Nairametrics in partnership with Classic 97.3 FM, sponsored by Unity Bank. And we have a guest today. His name is Remi Adejumo. If I am back to you so that you can do the honors.
All right. Remi Adejumo is the CEO of Cloudflex. Good morning. It's a pleasure to have you here on Business Half Hour. Good morning once again, Remi.
Good morning. It's nice to be here.
All right, Remi, let's get started. So tell us what exactly your business is all about.
Okay. Cloudflex is a local cloud company. So what that means is that we provide cloud services. Basically, cloud services is providing servers for companies, away from their premises, so that at least we give them services that are on 24/7, so they don't have to have that infrastructure in-house. So that's the benefit of what we do.
How long has it been in existence?
We've been in business for 6 years now.
6 years. So before Cloudflex started, tell us, what were you doing before then?
Okay. Well, I graduated as a civil engineer over 30 years ago. And I've spent the 30 years working in various areas. I worked in the UK, worked in France, Belgium, and Switzerland. I worked for Citibank, NatWest Bank, worked for Compaq, worked for IBM. And I came back to Nigeria in 2010 and worked for a computer company. And then I went to EcoBank. So in EcoBank, I was head of IT infrastructure, and I was also head of admin. And when I left EcoBank was when I started Cloudflex.
So with all the companies you've worked with, why did you, why did you choose to come back home? I'm sure you'd have heard, doing business is tough and all of that. What actually motivated you to come back?
What motivated me is that, you see, I feel Nigeria is a greenfield site. It's more everywhere that I went. I mean, I worked in some amazing companies, but all you were doing was really just keeping the lights on. There was no innovation. There was no sort of, building things from the ground up. So a lot of what I worked with in Europe, I saw how it started from the ground up working in Nigeria. So I think it's far more interesting here. And despite the challenges, I think I've had a more enjoyable time working here because I like to innovate, I like to create, and there's more opportunity for that here.
Wait. Good morning, Remi, once again. When you look at the services that you're providing and all your work experience, what inspired you to go into setting up a cloud system that is fully Nigerian and is going to be based and run by Nigerians?
Okay, the two biggest cloud companies that people know about and hear about is Azure and AWS. But you see, there are two major things. The first thing is I wanted to do something that I had control over. I didn't just want to be an agent of somebody else so that they'll say, we're going this way tomorrow, you have no choice. Secondly, if you look at cloud, what is the benefit of cloud in Nigeria? The benefit is the fact that there's a huge cost save because there's an economy of scale. You have a platform, you have the servers, and basically that's what I did when I was in EcoBank. And I saw the benefits of it to the bank, and I realized that this can extend to the world at large, in the fact that you can have a platform with servers. People, if you wanted to buy a server today, you order one, you wait 6 to 8 weeks. If you want a server for me, you'll have one in 24 hours. And that's what I was able to do in the bank. So that, and then I realized that the cost of it, the experts say that there's a 70% saving on the total cost of ownership, because you don't have to worry about the power. You don't have to worry about who's monitoring it. You don't have to worry about the cooling and all the other things in there. And so that's the benefit of that. And also, as I said, I enjoy the innovation. I enjoy creating something for a local market. This is not a service that one size fits all. We have our peculiarities here, and we're designed to serve the Nigerian market, and we do that quite adequately.
Yeah, talking about your peculiarities now, cloud services raises a lot of security concerns here in Nigeria and indeed the entire world. How would you, address these concerns?
Okay, that's one of the things people fear the most. But the funny thing is, the cloud platform is far safer than your on-premise server, because very, very briefly, your on-premise server, everybody knows where it is, and you find that 70% of breaches are done by your own staff. So by having a third party manage your platform, it means you and your staff don't know where it is. And secondly, there's a protocol in giving access. So the security is much, much better on there. So we have a much better security than on-premise infrastructure.
When you talk about hacking, isn't it liable to some sort of hacking?
Yeah, but you see, we talk about it in generality, but look at the peculiarities. What you say about hacking, one of the ways that people get up, you can secure a building as much as you want, put all the barbed wires, put every security in there, but you have a door to go in. So as long as you have a door, then somebody can go in. That's, in very simple terms, that's what it's all about. Now, if you remember the incident that happened last summer, where they hijacked the Twitter accounts of famous people, and they sent out a tweet from them saying, pay a Bitcoin and I'll do X, Y, Z or something. Now, the way they got that was that they called Twitter staff and fooled the Twitter staff to give them the admin password. So that's how they hacked. It was a human error. It wasn't the fact that they were so sophisticated that they found a hole in your fence and they got into your system. So that's what hacking is all about. It's just the way that they prey on weaknesses, and they also prey on fooling the human being.
So,
and
Remi,
human beings to give up access.
Remi, based on what you said, using the Twitter example, how do customers protect themselves from people working within your organization and people in general getting access to their cloud services? Because, like, if I asked about security, it's human, and at the end of the day, how do we protect ourselves? Because giving out very critical information being stored by a third party, how do you protect us from being
security experts will tell you, 1, you don't share passwords. 2, you don't use obvious passwords. 3, from a system perspective, that protection is innovating every day. So there are things like, we create silos. So in a company, if you're in finance, let's say you're in sales, you can't get into the finance part of the system, and vice versa. So by creating the silos and limiting where people can access, it limits the damage and it limits the exposure of your data. Because if you look at it, the data breach is not just financial. Data breach is also intellectual property. So you want to secure your data so that it's only authorized people that can see your data. So those are the things you do. Also, the advent of what you call machine learning, artificial intelligence, and things like that, that comes into play. So it looks for patterns. So it's the same thing as your bank account. If it sees something being done that is not the usual, it then flags it, and it can block it and not allow it to work until you confirm that you're actually doing that thing. So, there's another breach where gigabytes of data was being transferred at 1 a.m. That doesn't make sense. Why would somebody be transferring huge data out of hours? So, those sort of things, the system has, systems, they have what they call predictive learning and predictive analysis to say, this is an unusual thing and it will stop it. So there's a lot of innovation going into predictive and reactive security to make sure that the data is safe and make sure the data is not getting into the wrong hands.
Okay, how are you able to compete with your international competitors now in this space? I know it must be quite challenging for you. How are you able to compete?
It's interesting, but you see, I like to see us as complementing them rather than challenging them, because one of the key things is that, customer data should not be outside of the country of origin. So that's all the issue of data localization, data sovereignty. So it doesn't make sense that your sensitive customer data is sitting in America, but that's what happens now. Now, the big companies recognize this, and for countries that have a very strict laws and rules, they obey that rule. But because we are lax on that, they flout the rules and they're happy to take our business because the money goes to them. So we see ourselves as complements in terms of the fact that as a local company, local services, we are better suited to serve the local market. And then we can extend our platform onto these, what we call hyperscalers, so that if you want access to markets abroad, so for example, you have customers in the UK, you can be on our platform, we can connect to Azure or AWS, who are better served in the UK, and bring them closer to you. So just to give you an example of what I mean, a practical example of this is that take a company like Netflix, they have servers in Nigeria. So that what happens is that the films that we watch are cached on these servers so that you're not having to go to California to pick the film and watch them here. So in the same way, we can just have a server on these guys' platforms in the UK so that it takes the data from Nigeria closer to the market in that country. So that's the way we work, that we complement them rather than competing with them. And I believe competition is healthy.
Mm.
So tell us, have policies in any way affected your business, apart from you having competition? How about challenges generally in running the business? The environment, has it been good to you?
Not at all. I mean, we are under the same challenges as everybody else. We have challenges in terms of the human capital. Human capital could be infinitely better. We need a lot more training here. When I started, I built the platform myself, and I got to a certain point, I couldn't find anybody local who could help me in terms of building certain stages of the platform. So, I had to learn myself and do that build. So I believe we need a lot more training on there. Funding is a huge challenge because there's just no easy funding. I mean, the banks say to you that, when you're starting and you don't have that much money, they're telling you that you should bring a huge turnover before they can lend you money. So it's a vicious circle in terms of funding, in terms of that. So you find that, especially in the tech space, a lot of the funding is from outside of the country rather than in country.
Okay, Remi, you just spoken about funding, and it brings us to the next aspect of you doing business. So two things here and two questions quickly. How have you been able to fund this business to grow? And then secondly, in terms of your pricing and in comparison to competition, how is it, and how do you ensure that we in Nigeria, and since the service is provided locally and considering all the constraints you have, the pricing is adequate for us to be able to pay for it?
Okay, to answer the first question of funding, I worked 30 years, at least 20 of it was abroad. So a lot of the funding came from my savings, my pension, and I also sold some assets to be able to fund so far. In terms of pricing, we're very sensitive to pricing. We're actually cheaper than Azure or AWS. And also locally, I think we have one of the largest platforms. So with the size of our platform, we have a good economy of scale. So we have some wiggle room in terms of being able to bring prices that I feel will be competitive in the market. It's cheaper so what we're doing is cheaper to lease from us than to buy the assets. So what happens is that you're spreading your cost anyway. But then also what we do is we try and reduce the price so that it also gives that a low entry point for SMEs who want to just get one server or just to get a small footprint in there. So that's how we've been able to get that done.
All right. You have a physical office here in Lagos, Nigeria. And what's your staff strength?
Yeah, we have an office based in Lekki, and we have what we call a NOC, because we have a team that monitors the platform 24/7. And we have about 28 staff at the moment, so which are at least half of them are technical staff. So there's a team of people who've trained up and are quite adept now in managing the cloud platform, and they have a strong understanding of the cloud. And the rest is just the support staff that works with them.
Well, if I spoke about the peculiarities earlier, and 2020 was really a peculiar year for businesses across the world. And so a lot of small businesses had so much difficulty. How have you been able to cope with the peculiarities that came with 2020 that are still existent, although it's much better? And that's one. And then the second thing will be, how do you look forward to ensuring that you continually grow in terms of getting new funding into the business, aside from the revenues that are coming in to the business?
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, the beginning of 2020 was quite scary. I remember all I was hearing were people deducting salaries, stopping salaries, and things like that. So I was quite concerned about that. But we didn't deduct our salaries. We didn't fire anybody because we're quite lean anyway. And we have, there is growth in terms of the fact that cloud is a growing area, and we're actually behind the curve in Nigeria as against the rest of the world, because cloud was actually a solution to the lockdown and to COVID, because people couldn't access their office. So by outsourcing all that area of their business meant that they could be at home and still access their data because somebody was looking after that. And the other thing is that a cloud platform is a set of computers sitting in a data center. We have world-class data centers in Nigeria. So we have some really good data centers that once the lockdown started, they already have part of being an international data or international standard data center is you have procedures for times like this. So they kicked into that procedure and we could continue working. There was staff at the data center. They actually had a lockdown that you couldn't go in or go out of the data center, but we had something called remote hands where they could do the work on our behalf and things like that. So there's just an efficiency in the work. So we didn't have any disruption in 2020. We had a zero downtime. We had zero incidents in the year. And then going into this year, we've been able to grow organically and to show our potential. So we now are in discussion with some funders to get some funding in so that can take us to the next level in being able to be more competitive. And also sort of that we can expand the platform here, because we really haven't seen the growth yet. There is a growth here. And when you see what the international companies are investing in Nigeria, you realize that sometimes they see what we don't see, and that we've got a huge market here that is worth working hard for.
All right, some questions here. Someone is asking, is the business open for crowdfunding? What will be the merits and demerits of that kind of funding?
Okay, no, that's not something we've looked at, because obviously we're just not set up to do crowdfunding. So that's not something we're looking at the moment. And the options that we have at the moment are sufficient for us in terms of the funding options that we're looking at. So we've not gone to that.
All right, talking about what you're looking at, so what's the vision of the company for the future?
The vision of the company of the future is that cloud is exciting because it's the foundation of everything. It's the foundation of Internet of Things, foundation of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the data for all this has to be local. So it's not something you can buy from abroad and bring here, because it's the pattern of our lives and the pattern of what we do. So, and we just haven't reached there. So I'm quite excited that once we're able to grow to the levels that we can use that, it will be exciting for everyone, and the access and the functionality. It gives us a better quality of life in Nigeria. So it's going to improve the quality of life. It's going to improve business. It's going to give even that SME things at their fingertips that they were not able to have previously because of cost, and it was beyond the scope of their business. So there's a lot of that. So I'm quite excited in the next few years that there's so much more that can happen and what we can do.
This has been really interesting, Remi, and looking at it and understanding better what the cloud business is like. With how much time do we still have? Time is never a friend on this program.
Less than 2 minutes.
So we're always trying to get everything in 20 minutes. But the last two things, Remi, you've told us where you see yourself. Where do you see the business scale in Nigeria, or the business scope in Nigeria, especially with small businesses and being able to partner with you? And then the second one will be you sharing with us a phrase or a quote that would you know, that you wake up every morning and it keeps you going?
Yeah, like I said, small businesses are going to have access to tools and to opportunities that you know, was not available to them 5 years ago, simply because of cost, simply because the infrastructure wasn't there. We're building technology infrastructure that it will complement other things that are being done. And there are lots and lots of people doing different things in different areas. And I believe that once the dots are connected, I think it's going to transform the country. I'm extremely optimistic about the opportunities and what is possible here, because we have the skill, we have the numbers, and I think we have the environment. So, and the phrase I look at is I would say opportunities are limitless.
That's quite interesting. It's limitless. So it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, just expand your horizon, open your mind, you'll find them.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Totally agree with you, Remi. And thanks for breaking that down for us. Like I said earlier, time is never a friend. It's time once again to call the show to come to an end. Thank you, Remi, for being our guest today. It's always a pleasure having guests like you on the show. On that note, I would say bye-bye, and back to Ifeanyi and Bukola in the studio. Have a great day and a great week ahead.